All right, folks, here's what we're doing today. We are going to repad the stock OEM seat on the 2021 Tracer 900 GT, or 9 GT, whatever it is. So I've got the seat shim kit, which moves this mounting plate up 8 millimeters. So it sits a little more level, but it's still a very hard, kind of unforgiving seat. It doesn't have a lot of give. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this skin off, and I'll do a lot of this. We're going to film the whole thing, and then I'll just speed a bunch of it up. And then where I'm going to talk and explain things, we'll slow it back down. But we're going to take off this cover. See how there's like how that moves? There's a big air gap there. We can add some foam to this without really adding to the bulk of the seat visually. And so what we're going to use, and I'll put a link out there, I grabbed a $20 yoga mat of like closed cell, half-inch thick memory foam. It's nice and squishy. We're going to cut that up. You probably could do 10 seats out of this at least and use it for other stuff. You can use it for extra armoring in your jacket on your back protector if you want to make that more comfortable. You know, you can use, I've used it for other stuff over the years. So we're going to take the cover off. The only real tools we're going to need here are going to be small flathead screwdriver and a pair of needle nose pliers to pull up all the staples. So we're going to do that. And then we are going to trace out and cut a piece of that foam right there to fit on the seat. We've got some spray adhesive to make it stick so it doesn't slide around. And then we're going to use a very sharp knife. In my case, I'm going to use my, switch hands here because this is right hand opening. We're going to use my petrified fish. Stupid name, but it is just an absolute thin, super razor blade like scalpel. This will be perfect for slicing and trimming and shaving that seat. So we're going to use that. And then to put it all back together, you're going to need staple gun. Now there are some that are spring loaded that you can use. I've got one right now hooked up to my air compressor. I've got it set for 110 PSI, which I've tested. Their 1/4-inch staples will drive right into the plastic, no problem. So that's what we're going to do. So sit tight, watch what I do. I'm going to take off all the stuff, put on the new one, glue it, trim it, get it shaped the way I want, and then we're going to put the skin back on, staple it in place, and see what we get. So stay tuned. All right, let's get started, shall we? Hopefully this will be a much better thing to watch than the news today. Woke up and, you know, there's this whole thing going on with the Ukraine. And man, what a mess. It's ridiculous that in 2022, we're having to watch World War III just, you know, out of the blue. And man, what an inspiration the Ukrainian people and Zelensky are right now, you know. It's like they're outmanned, outgunned, outprovisioned against one of the world's, you know, reigning nuclear superpowers. And it'd be very easy for them to cut and run. And he's not. I mean, he may go down with the ship, but, you know, ordinary men, women are picking up AKs and rifles and doing what needs to be done to protect their country and their new way of life and freedom after the fall of the USSR. They do not want to go back. They don't want to go back to communism and the kind of rule that Putin has so badly that they're willing to die for it, you know. And it's an inspiration seeing those people, you know, women, school teachers, bakers, whoever, taking up arms and fighting in the streets against professional Russian soldiers to defend their country. It's amazing to watch, and my heart goes out to them, and I hope they're successful, and I hope we start giving them the aid. And they don't need blankets, you know, they need javelins and stingers and small arms and ammo and things like that, and I hope they get it. It's nice seeing Turkey step up and offer to potentially set up a military blockade in the Black Sea against Russian warships, and seeing NATO activating and getting ready to help out. My biggest concern on that is going to be what is Putin's response going to be? You know, this isn't going as he planned. He thought that the Ukrainian people would roll over and this would be done before the weekend was out, and clearly that's not going to happen. Is he a rational player? Is he the kind of person that's going to say, look, between the economic sanctions and even China going, dude, we might not follow you on this, and everybody else, and even President Brandon finally coming around and saying, all right, we're going to send $350 million, not money, but weapons, you know, stuff like that. Is that going to be enough to help Putin go, you know what, I effed up. This is not what I need to be doing. My own people are revolting. I mean, really, this is like having, it'd be like the U.S. attacking Canada. Americans would be going, dude, what the frig? You know, these are our neighbors. We have friends and family there. Yeah, they're their own country, but in a lot of ways, they're just like us. You know, what are you doing? So we'll see. The thing that really concerns me is watching the news this morning and seeing Putin, whether he's just grandstanding or not, putting his nuclear arsenal online. I mean, this has the potential, through mistake, miscalculation, or the bad judgment of someone who's maybe not completely hinged, to turn into a legit World War III. That's some scary stuff. Between the U.S. and the USSR, or, you know, Russia, we've got enough nukes to wipe out the entire planet 50 times over. This is not a game we want to be playing in right now. And if I'd like to say he's rational enough that he's just bluffing, it wouldn't do that. But part of me is like, well, a rational person had to have known how this was going to go in Ukraine. He wouldn't have attacked the way he has in the first place. So I don't know if he's altogether there. I don't know. Anyway, this is going to be hopefully a distraction from that. Of course, it's hard to distract you from that if I'm sitting here yapping about it. So I'm going to shut up now and focus on what I'm doing and speed up the camera. And we'll catch you when I'm done and I get to the next step in the process. Okay, so there we have it. I'm going to see if I can do this while leaving the front on, because the front is oftentimes the hardest to get stapled back in there without it wrinkling and stuff. And I think, yeah, I can access everything I need to without having to do that. So I'm also going to try to keep this piece intact. This is, I think, just going to act as a water barrier and also allow that to kind of slide. So if the cover slides a little bit, it's not pulling and tearing at this. So I'm going to leave that all intact. I would recommend that you do it that way. Clean up all your staples. I know I dropped one over there. I'm going to have to go find. I need to remember to do that so that you don't get them in one of your tires or your foot later on. So let's just pick these all up now. Get them out of the way. The next step's going to be looking at where we want to put the padding. Do I want to do it all the way up to the back? Just thinking about this. And then we're going to cut out a section of this, lay it on there, make sure it's the right size. Then we're going to spray on some adhesive on one side of this and on this. Let it sit for, I think, a minute, so it hardens a little bit and gets sticky. And then we're going to go ahead and apply that and stick it down nice. Make sure it doesn't move around and it's where we want. And then we're going to start trimming it with a very sharp knife. So let's go ahead and get a piece of this over here. So at this point, I'm just going to eyeball a section because I have so much extra here. So let's make sure I'm in shot because I don't see where the camera's aiming right now. So we're going to set that aside. Ooh, found some more staples. Set those aside, and the one that I missed. We're not saving these for later, we're saving them so they don't end up in your foot, my foot. All right, so if we are to lay this down, cut it oversized. You're better to have extra that you can trim off than to do it and not have enough and then you wasted that piece and you gotta redo it. Just using light pressure on the tip. Just the tip, mind you. Now let's see, line it up about there. All right, so now what we need to determine, and you could probably make up your own on mine. Mine is ribbed on one side for my pleasure, I guess, or do I want the flat side? I don't know if I want the nubbins or not. I'm not sure which side should face up. I'm guessing I would just do it smooth side up. I don't know that nubbins would having any texture. I mean, some people drill holes in these things and try to make them a little even softer. This stuff is really squishy though, so I don't think it really needs that. So the question becomes, do I want it like that? And then I have to worry about, well, what if it's straight or crooked? And the you know what? We're gonna do that side down and we're gonna do smooth side up. So first thing we wanna do is I want to hang this edge off the end and I'm going to put some paper towels over that to make sure I don't get any overspray on the leather and stuff because I don't want to have to clean up that mess. Well, hold on one second while I grab some paper towel. So let's just do that. Protect from any overspray. Okay, good enough. Perfect. All right, now we're going to spray this one. All right, so we're going to let that air dry just for a second. Without dropping it on anything. Okay, so now we're going to lay this on here and press it into place. So start with the front and roll it in. If you lay it across the top and it contacts on the top and the bottom, then the part in the middle might have a gap in there. So we want to go ahead, get out any air, and basically form this around the edges to the seat. So just kind of press it down all around. Bend it around the edges a little bit, okay? At this point, we can turn that over and what we want to do now is, again, try not to get it on the whatchamacallit, on the leather and stuff on the seat cover, but if you have, we can clean that if we have to. And just basically form that around the edge. Don't worry about it not coming all the edge. We don't want to make the seat wider. We're gonna cut this now and start shaping this. So what we want to do is just start cutting away and just follow along the line of the existing foam. Okay, get rid of the extra. We still got some more shaping and stuff to do here, so let's see. So what I'm going to continue doing here is just fine-toning that edge. Just basically, I want to scrape that edge and slice it so it's more of a gradual, so you don't have that hard turn. Problem is the knife is dulling a little bit, but it's also just it's a weird material to cut. Like I said, if you put a piece on the table and you want to cut it, it cuts right through it, right? When you're trying to do it, it's wiggling around, the glue is sticking to the blade. It's actually harder to cut this way than you would expect. So the rest of this is going to be the most tedious part, which is basically just trying to take this edge and cut it at a shallow angle. And see how that's just curling underneath the edge there? I may have to try either a different knife. I don't have anything like a, you know, if you're using styrofoam or something, I've seen people use like a certain type of disc on an angle grinder or something like that. That's not necessarily going to work here. This stuff is too squishy. And if you did, you'd probably get it hot and it would start to melt and flame, melting rubber and goo and all that stuff. And you don't want that. So what I'm finding was working is kind of pinching that corner and then at a shallow angle, just going and taking the edge off that. It doesn't have to be an exact science, because once it's underneath the skin and pulled tight, you know, you're not going to really see those edges or any imperfections. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to try to get it as smooth as you can. So okay, I think we're in pretty good shape there. Just going to kind of give it a once over just to see if there's anything obvious that's standing out. Everything's stuck in place. Those edges are beveled pretty nice. I'm going to bevel this edge a little bit more. You can see how that edge is beveled more than this side, so just want it to kind of match. Okay, I think I'm going to bevel this edge just a little bit more, and I think we're going to be done. Okay, so let's take this, spread this back over. Wrap that around the edge the way it was. And now, let's pull that seat skin back over. Let's clean up our work area a little bit. We have to clean the gunk off that blade because it's got glue all over the edge, which is why it was cutting for shit. And so what we want to do now is start stretching this back over. And this will be the kind of fun part because, like in the front, we put more padding, it's taking up more slack, so we're gonna have to kind of re-pull that whole skin back. So what I would do is get this all straightened up, and we're gonna put a couple staples here in the back to kind of hold that in place and keep tension on the front. We want to pull up any Okay, so there's our new seat. Got more padding. Now what you're going to want to do is feel around and make sure you don't have any, oh, okay, that was a staple on my hand. I was like, oh, I feel like there's a staple that was poking through. Turns out it wasn't. And so if you see any staples that didn't go through, you got to really push some pressure on the staple gun. The plastic is really hard. And so you want to make sure that they go in. You don't want to use staples that are too long because you don't want them to stick too far through the other side of the plastic and come out through the, poke you in the leg or whatever. So. I think we are pretty good to go. Maybe we could probably put a few more in there here and there, but and looks like old Dave's out of staples. So anyway, we'll come back and throw a few more in there. But that is how you reskin the seat. So it's definitely got more give now, so that's good. So we'll have to put it on. Fortunately, it's raining today, but you'd look at it and you'd go, okay, it looks stock. I mean, if you had one next to the other, you might see that this one's a tiny bit, thicker than the other. But, do as good of a job as you can, scallop it as much as you can, make sure you staple everything back in place nice and good, make sure nothing is moving around on you. Oh wait, I'm out of staples. So, well, I'll do that later. But that, so far, looks pretty successful. So let me go ahead and unmount the camera, and then we'll put it back on the bike and see how it looks. All right, so here we're gonna plop this back in. And let's see what happens. Make sure everything fits. All right, we got the back clicked in. Click. Yeah, let's see. Back seat. Clicks in. So, looks pretty good. I've got one little wrinkle on the other side I'm going to have to work out. It does have a little bit more of a hump in the front, so I may go in and undo that and take out that point. But I'm going to go ahead and sit on it and see how it fits. Yeah, I'm not sure about that right there. We may need to scallop that more, which unfortunately means I got to take the skin off again, and that's the worst part. And putting it back on. Or, you know, it may look a little odd, but it might feel okay. So I'm going to go ahead and set the camera down, and we'll go ahead and take this off the rear stand and see how it fits. So put that there. Let's see. Actually, while it looks like that would be a hump there, it actually, you don't feel it, and because it's so soft and squishy. Yeah, I was expecting that to be kind of awkward, but it made the seat a tiny bit wider. I'm in the topmost position, and I can just barely flat foot with bare feet. With boots, not a problem. I'm curious if I move this into the lower position, because I have a feeling this kind of raised me up a little bit. Wonder what it would feel like in the low position. No, definitely prefer it in the upper position. Although for the low position, this has kind of made it just a tiny bit higher. I mean, it's a 1/2 inch foam. When you compress it, it probably goes down to like a 1/16 of an inch. So once you settle into it, it probably doesn't really make much of a difference. But yeah, you could ride like that. I'm gonna go back to the upper position. Yeah, so despite that little hump there, and you're thinking that would be okay, or it might be in the way, actually it kind of makes you sit in it so you're not, again, sliding up towards your junk. I would say if you don't like the way that looks, scallop that top a bit more. Cut it at a really shallow angle and clip that point off there. But it is really soft and squishy, so you look at it and you're like, oh, that's going to be poking into me. But as soon as you sit on it, you don't feel it. You don't feel it at all. So I'm not going to worry about it, honestly. I'm not going to go to the trouble to reskin it as long as it doesn't get in the way. We'll have to wait till it's dry and not raining so I can go out and do a review of it. But so far, feels pretty good. So let me go ahead before I forget and put my spacers back in for the uppermost seat position, which is that, I reckon. Nope, back one. Yup. All right. So that is how you reskin or repad your seat. It definitely takes some of that hardness out of it. I don't feel that bump ain't bothering me at all. It's more aesthetic than anything. You know, if you're looking at the line, it looks weird to have that little bit of hump there, but you don't feel it. So I'm not going to worry about it. That's how you do it. You got any questions? Throw them in the comments. You know what to do.